Hello everyone, my name is Luminita and today I'm not alone in this studio. Let's give a warm welcome to Daniela from MoldovanAbroad.
Hi.
Hello!
Hello.
How are you doing?
How are you today?
Oh, I'm great, a little bit hot. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in the very sunny UK. No, just joking. It's a little bit chilly in here. You're too hot, I'm a bit chilly, but it's great because at least it's not as windy, as rainy and as cold as yesterday. So I'm happy about that I can film this with you outside.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm very, very happy that you're here. By the way, as I said before, Daniela is from MoldovanAbroad, and this is actually a podcast that I was very, very lucky to be invited to. And if you want to hear our voices after this video even more, you can check the podcast. I will leave the link in the description box below. And Daniela, tell us more about your podcast. How did you start it? Why? And where did this all started?
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for having me on your YouTube channel. It's a new experience for me, but I'm so excited and I'm super happy that you accepted my invitation for my podcast as well. So you know now already what it is about, but I will definitely explain more about it. The actual idea, well, the grain for the idea started a few years ago, when I was working for a startup, and part of my job was to give training to people, and I would just have a call and just share my screen, so I didn't have that interaction, or I didn't see them through video, but I still enjoy talking to people. Generally a very sociable, friendly person and very, very chatty, you'll see from this video. I talk too much as usual. But I did also enjoy just having a chat with the people. Just through audio, and I realized that's something that I should be aware that I enjoy doing. I didn't think particularly podcast at that point in time, but we started listening more and more. My boyfriend and I started listening to more and more podcasts, and then at some point I was thinking, I could do that. Why not? This sounds like a cool thing to do. So a little bit later, I just remembered as well, oh, listen, I really enjoy it, and I know that I can do a podcast, so let's just do it. And, from the actual idea when I said let's do it till I started doing it, it took quite a long time, probably more than a year. But because, I had different priorities at the time, and I was, having other things to do. And then when the pandemic started, I just thought, that's it, no more postponing. Now is the time. I'm going to do it now. So yeah, that's how it started. And the concept of the actual podcast kept changing in time. The more I was thinking about it, the more I changed it. But in the end, the format is I have usually more interviews with people, and I also paint them. But sometimes I do podcasts just me talking to myself about our year away in a motorhome, because we traveled around Europe in a motorhome. So yeah, but it's mostly interviews just because I like talking to people. So yeah, that's the story of my podcast.
That's really, really interesting, because it seems like a lot of people got courage to start doing what they wanted to do during this pandemics. As you said, you with your podcast and me with my YouTube channel. As I already told you in your podcast, by the way, you should really, really listen to it. I wanted to do it for so long, but then I was postponing it, and now Corona happened, we were at home, and I decided to turn on the camera, and this is why we're here today. But Daniela, what I noticed on your podcast, our podcast is in English, but you also have a lot of people that you invited, and you speak with them in Romanian, which was pretty surprising for me, as at least till now, I've never experienced a podcast that is in two languages somehow at the same time. So how did you come up with this idea, and did you encounter some difficulties to speak to someone in Romanian and then in English and then mix it up and so on?
That's a great question. So basically, I started it in Romanian. The whole purpose of the podcast was, first of all, to do it in Romanian because it's less competition, because there's so many podcasts in English. And then I thought, not that much competition in Romanian, so I can actually do it and maybe, be better at it if I started it in Romanian. And then second of all, which was actually, to be honest, the first reason, it was because I have been living abroad for quite a few years, and I knew a lot of people that lived abroad as well, and I wanted to share that kind of knowledge and experience, to share it in Romanian for people that maybe didn't get the chance to visit the same places or to try the same food, or maybe they're interested in art but they want to hear from someone else who has been living somewhere else and bring new ideas into Moldova and Romania. That was my priority at the time. And then when I started recording them in Romanian, I realized that there are so many people that I like to interview in general that, I want to interview people as well that have been living in the UK and they don't speak Romanian, or or I have so many friends that they don't speak Romanian as well, and they have been telling me like, Daniela, we want to listen to you, but there's nothing that we could understand. Can you just do them in English as well, please? So then I started thinking, I guess I can do them in English as well. And then I kind of continue doing them in both. Sometimes I ask the people that I interview which language they prefer to speak in, if they speak more languages, and if one of them is the one that I speak as well.
You speak French as well, right?
Yeah. Ah oui.
So should we wait for an episode in French as well then?
Do you know what? Why not? Next week, actually, I'm interviewing a French chef, and I could as well speak French to him, but then my boyfriend, because he really loves cooking, he was like, no, interview him in English, please. So, I don't know, we'll see.
But what language is easier for you? Is it to talk to people in Romanian or in English? Because Romanian is your native tongue, right? But you also live in the UK, so you basically speak English there and with your partner as well. So what language is easier for you?
Exactly. So actually this relates to the question that I didn't answer to, about if it's hard for me to express myself in any languages. To be honest, I found it really hard to express myself in Romanian at first, because I have been living for quite a few years out of Moldova. I lived in Romania as well, but then I kind of tried so much to adapt to the countries that I lived in. So I've been living in Belgium, where I practiced a lot of French, and then in the UK, where I was always talking in English to my boyfriend, to my colleagues. Just like the spoken language was always English, even if I, chat to my family in Romanian. Most of the time is through texting. And when I started actually talking, I found it a bit hard to talk in Romanian. But it's been quite interesting to me, because it's like I try to remember all sorts of expressions and all sorts of ways of talking. Sometimes I make mistakes and I'm thinking, oh my god, I used to be so good at Romanian when I was in high school, and now I just do basic mistakes. But if you don't practice a language, it wears off, even if it's your own language. It's quite interesting, but also, funnily enough, because I kind of was in a bubble when I was in Moldova, and then I left, and then I was practicing other languages. There's so many expressions in Romanian that I don't know, and then it's just hilarious when I talk to someone and they say an expression. I'm like, what is that? It's just so funny. It's definitely a learning curve for me as well.
That's interesting. But what makes your podcast really unique is not just that you have different languages in it, but also so many topics. And it's not that you just have, a business podcast and there are many topics in business, but it's really like a lot of topics. Everything. She has everything from, as you said, next week chef, but you also had a chef right? He was a chef on your podcast already. But then there were, but But then no, but it's I think it's incredible. You speak with so many people with so many backgrounds, and because I'm so interested in communication, my question is how it is to talk to people not only from different countries but also with very, very different interests from yours or from other people. How it is on a communication level? Is it easy for you to, I don't know, ask them questions, or do you have to prepare a lot, or do you have to watch your your language when you speak to someone, but then you can be freer with someone else? Like how does it work?
Okay, let me think where to start with. So first of all, I really think that you need to learn how you are, understand how your personality works. Because I had that year away in the motorhome, I had time to analyze what I like, what I dislike, how my brain thinks. So basically, the podcast is definitely a reflection of the mess in my head. And I don't know if sometimes this works in my disadvantage or not, because usually they say that when you do a podcast, you should really concentrate on one topic and get deeply into that topic and concentrate on that. And there are so many rules to doing podcasting. And to be fair, when I started it, I thought, because I discovered that I really enjoy painting and that's what I want to do as well. I thought, that's it, I'm going to do a podcast only related to art and only in Romanian. So that was my initial idea. So I thought, yeah, I'll concentrate on art, I'll learn more about art, and that's it. I'll interview all sorts of artists, painters, actors, anything to do with art, but in Romanian, so that, people can share their experiences. And then slowly, I just kept thinking, but you know what? I have so many other interests. It's not just art. I don't know if it's my personality that I get bored quite quickly, or that I jump from subject to subject, or that I just always want to do different things, or I'm interested in different things. I don't know what it is, but I have this attraction to more things that I could cope sometimes, probably. I don't know. But basically, so I choose the people that I want to interview based on what I like. I choose them based on their work and if I really enjoy their work. So I don't interview a person because, for example, if they have a huge Instagram followers or following, or if, I don't know, if they're famous, or I don't care about any of that. I just literally go on instinct on my personal preferences. So I really enjoy food, I enjoy art, I really enjoy, comedy. I can talk to people about all sorts of things. But then again, I would generally speak about the things that I'm interested in, because that means I've been reading about it beforehand and at least I have a little bit of an idea what to talk about. So next part of the question, how do I interview people? Okay, so there is another thing. Well, first of all, again, there are so many rules that they say all the episodes need to be the same length, and that you have to prepare the questions in advance, and I ignore all the rules, basically.
That's the spirit.
Just because I think, first of all, different people have different time available to them, and also different people are more, each individual has more desire to talk than the other one. So I really treat it personally, case by case. When I start the interview, I ask them how much time do you have today? How long do you want, to stay and talk on this podcast? And if they say there's no limit of time, here you go, my ticket is here. And I think with you, didn't we chat for 3 hours or something?
Oh yes, we talked so.
But if the person tells me in advance, I only have 20 minutes today, I need to be really fast. So my process is, I speak to the person that I want to interview, and then if they say yes, because of course you need to accept the fact that some people will not have time to talk to you, or will not think that, they don't want to do that, maybe, I don't know. So you have to accept the fact that you might have rejections as well, or no answers at all, and that's fine. So once you speak to a person and you set the date, then I start reading about them, depending on what they're doing. I might also start reading things connected to what they're doing, or like I watched your YouTube videos, or depending on each person. I read if they have interviews, I read their interviews, I watch everything I can watch on YouTube, basically anything I find on the internet and that I have time to read. I just read and let it sink in, maybe take a few notes, but I don't prepare any questions at all, just because, again, I treat every interview very individually and personally, and I find that if I start preparing questions in advance, then maybe I'll miss an opportunity of an interesting conversation that might suddenly appear from nowhere. And that actually happened because sometimes I might have a general idea of what I want to talk about, but then it happened with a comedian that I interviewed. We literally talked about anything but what I expected that we'll talk about. So that's why I just try to keep myself open to kind of listen to that person and see where they're taking me with the interview. So I'm kind of probably treating it differently than other people would if they would interview people. So that's how I try to do it, because I also want to keep the more natural side of the interview. I don't want it to be too technical, although it's good to be structured, especially if you have a short amount of time. So I did have one case when I prepared the questions in advance, just because that person told me in advance I won't have too much time. So if we'll have the questions in advance, then she'll be able to reply quickly and I'll be able to answer quickly. And this way, in 20 minutes, we managed to do it, to squeeze a lot of information in. But generally speaking, I don't prepare specific questions, and I just go with the instinct, basically. I can't remember. Did you ask me something else that I didn't answer to?